Okay? And this is what happens. There's 4 scenarios. You ready? 1, it falls in a person's heart, but they don't understand it, and they don't really want to understand it, and Satan comes along and takes it out of their heart, the word. 2, the seed of the word falls upon stony ground that doesn't have much earth, just stone. And what happens is trials, tribulations, and temptations come along, and the person say, well, I don't really like this word so much. Life is tough. I can't take it. I'm not paying attention to God. So they lose out there. 3, it's sown upon thorns. People that they hear the word, but the riches and the pleasures and the comforts of life, choke the word, and they say, well, I love to use doctors as an example, so they're so perfect for this. They're so caught up with their boats and their riches, they say, I don't got time for God, I don't have time for him now, I'll get to him. The 4th one, which is the one, hopefully, that we're doing here, is sown upon a good and noble heart. And it grows and keeps growing. And it returns to you 30 to 60 to 100-fold. And then at some point, you become a believer because of the word, and you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. That's the word. Now let's do 10:9.
I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture.
Right. I am the door. Some of these I've memorized so well because they're so important. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and go in and out and find pasture. Jesus is the only door to salvation. That's it. He's the door. That's it. You can't get in any other way. We're going back to the I am the way, the truth, and life again. He's the only way. He's the only door. It's the only way into heaven is through Jesus. We're going to do a verse from Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and then we're going to get right back to John, my favorite chapter, my favorite book in the Bible. John was the beloved disciple of Jesus. But anyways, there's some important points I want to go over. Let's go right to Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. Rachel, it's your turn.
Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it.
Okay. Now, what does that mean to you? And if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. You're not supposed. I didn't know it right off the bat, so I'm only giving you an opportunity to see if it means something to you. That's fine. If it doesn't, we'll talk about it.
It says enter by the narrow gate, so I guess it's saying go by the one way, because the wide gate and the broad one is the way that leads to destruction, and that's where most go, apparently.
Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. And then if we do the Luke comment one more time, one of the disciples asked Jesus, then one said to him, Lord, are there few who are saved? And he said to them, strive to enter through the narrow gate. For many, I say to you, will seek to enter and will not be able. The punchline of this is only a few people, it says few specifically, few go through the narrow gate, the way to the Lord, through Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He's the only way. What you see is most of the world will pass the wide gate to destruction. If you're doing what most of the world is doing, you're not getting in. You're in the wrong gate. You're in the wide gate. You want to be in the narrow gate where there's a few. Now, I like to throw out an interesting thing. That's the gate to salvation. What we're talking about here is the gate to salvation. Who is going to be saved? Who is going to live eternally with God? Only a few, it says here. A narrow gate. Now, that's kind of scary because, when you think about it, I say, well, who's going to get to heaven? What percent of people? You can't help but think of these things. But it says it right here. The narrow gate and only a few. If you're passing the wide gate where the rest of the world is, you're going to destruction. You're not going to have salvation. Now, I want to throw something out. This is an interesting question. Out of 100, just let's make this interesting. What do you think a few is? If you had to throw a percent out, like 2 out of 100? Ian, what is it?
10%.
5%.
5.
3.
3. 3.
I'd probably go with well, personally me, I
Yeah.
think 2 or 3, few.
I'll go with 5. No, none of us is right. None of us is wrong. Who knows? Only God knows. Does this have any meaning to you guys? What does this mean to you? Wait, look at her shot. What, Tara?
It's hard.
It's hard, yeah. It says difficult is the way. If it was
So
easy,
not
everybody would do
even
it.
like if somebody took all of us and put us in just one room and decided, well, it's time for all of you to die. Not all of us would make it.
Well,
Yeah.
that, again, only God knows the heart. Only God knows your heart. And that's, salvation is an issue between you and God. You have to come to a knowledge and understanding, and you have to make a decision. Not making a decision, by the way, is a decision. In other words, not making a decision, saying, well, I'll decide tomorrow, that's a decision. So, people make decisions not to decide. That's a decision.
Decision. The thing I want to point out, and I think you all would agree with me on this, what is scary about it? This, I think, is the scariest passage to me in the Bible. Not Satan. I can deal with him. Not, the demons. You know what's scary about this? This is my scariest passage in the Bible. Why? Most people are not going to heaven. Doesn't that scare you? It scares me. Most people, and I guess this is why Moses and Paul said, you got to look at your salvation with fear and trembling. It's that important. Your life can be a heartbeat away. Nobody knows what your life can bring. And what would be sad? What would be sad to me if somebody, said, well, I'll get to God later. And next thing, this is the emergency doctrine in me. You see, I see life and death every day. I see young people. Car accidents, leading cause of death of young people, under 40, #1 cause. I see teenagers killed in car accidents all the time. And you know what would be sad to me, which is one of the reasons why I'm getting this educational video, especially to young adults? You know what would be tragic to me? Somebody saying, well, I'm worrying about God, but you know what? I got prom, I got this girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. I'm going to get to God later. And then they get a car accident and they get killed. Game over. They're not in heaven. That's sad. It's very serious stuff. We're going to get lighter here in a second, but this is my one serious mode here. There's a reason why Moses and Paul said fear and trembling. Because you can be alive one day and dead another. We are a vapor in New Testament terms. We'll get to that passage. It actually says, don't even bother planning the future, what you'll buy and sell and how much riches you'll make. What you better do is get straight with the Lord and ask God, what do you want me to do today?
This falls under the way, the truth, and life, and no man comes to the Father but through him. There is a very narrow gate, and you either go through that gate or you don't. It's your decision. You have to make that decision. That's something that you deal with God. It's your problem with God. But he does say that it's a narrow gate, and that he is the only way. If you read the Bible, you come to a knowledge and understanding that that's it. That's the only way. He is the truth, the life, and that's it. There's no other way. You can't go through, Hinduism or Buddhist or, Allah or some other way and maybe get there. No, you're not getting there. It's it. Very narrow, absolute only way.